Hi, and welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today, we're working on a 2010. It's a Infiniti. It's the EX35, which is the 3.5 liter engine. It's a pretty clean-cut issue. It came in with two issues, actually. The first one I didn't film. It was a misfire in number 2 cylinder, so I changed the coil. That took care of the misfire. At the same time, it also has an overheating problem. So I'm going to bring you over there and I'm going to show you what it is. A fairly easy call. As clear as day, you can see the antifreeze leaking out of the seam on the side of the radiator. So I'm going to bring you in there. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And we're not going to do it tonight. We're going to get back on it tomorrow morning, but we will be replacing this radiator. So let me bring you over there. I'm going to show you what it looks like and see what we get into. Alright, this is where it's leaking. It's right down on the side. Well, I don't know if you can see it down there, but right down there where the tank connects onto the core, right there is leaking. You can see it running down there. And of course, you can see it dripping out right underneath that. So it's a pretty clean-cut problem. So we're going to remove the radiator and we'll replace it with the new one. But we're going to let it cool down tonight and we'll get back on it tomorrow morning. Okay, now we're going to get started on taking a radiator out. Now this one's a little more complicated than most of them because you do have to, according to the computer, I haven't done one of these, so we're going to do it together for the first time. According to the computer, you need to discharge the air conditioning in order to remove the radiator, because the radiator and the condenser are piggybacked together. So first thing we're going to do is we took this cover off right here. Couple of screws, you pull it right off. There's 5 of them in there. They're all 10 millimeter, and we just take this and relocate this off to the side for now. You will need to drain the cooling system also, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect up my air conditioning here, and I'm going to suck the Freon out of the system. We're going to recover it and we're going to reuse it. So all right, let me get the refrigerant recovered in it, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to lift the car up and I'll show you how to drain the cooling system first. Alright, we will need to loosen this cap here, so we can just take this cap here totally off. Just relocate this off to the side, otherwise you'll have a little vacuum in the, when you remove the screw on the bottom, the antifreeze won't drain because it'll create a vacuum inside the engine. So remove this cap and then we'll go down the bottom and I'll show you what to do down on the bottom. So let me lift it up and I'll show you how to go from here. Okay, now looking at it from the bottom, the first thing you're going to notice is you can't even see where the drain is underneath here. So we're going to need to remove this cover underneath here so we can gain access to the drain plug. So we're going to take out all of these little 10 millimeter screws here. We're going to take all of these out and we're going to remove this cover right here so we can gain access to the drain plug on the side. I believe it's on the right side over here, but we'll see when we take this cover down. So, all right, let me take that cover down and we'll continue. Okay, I was going to take that cover off, but I actually elected not to because, as you can see, this car is extremely rusty and one of the bolts already snapped off, so I don't want to take a chance on breaking off all the bolts on here. So what I decided to do is instead to go up right through that spot right there, that round hole, and as you can see, there's a little tube right there. You get in there with a Phillips head screwdriver, you unscrew the valve, and as you can see, the antifreeze drains, but it hits the cover and it runs all over the place. So we're going to let this drain out. While it's draining, I'm going to lower it down. We're going to suck the antifreeze out of it, and then we're going to pull the Freon out of it, and then we're going to continue with this. So let's lower it down and let's continue. Okay, now that we have the cooling system drained, and we also have the air conditioning emptied out, we're going to remove this cover here. We're going to remove these air filter boxes here, and then we're going to continue. The air filter boxes are fairly simple. You just take out the screws here. Okay, now we're going to recover our Freon from the air conditioning system. As you can see, we have the machine connected up, and we're going to be pulling the Freon out of the system. As soon as it pulls everything out, we're going to start to disassemble everything in the front. So, all right, let me grab some tools and we'll continue. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, next thing we're going to do then, we're going to take this cover off here. We just have a bunch of 10mm screws in here that you can take out. I'll show you why you have to take this out. These clips here, you just go underneath it with the screwdriver, and you lift them up, and you pull them out, just like that. I'm removing the lock right now, the latches. We're going to remove the water overflow over here also. Take this off to the side. I'm going to remove this hose that's on here. Take off this hose right here. Pull it off. Remove the electrical harness up inside here is actually holding it in. I'll show you once I get it out. as much as you're tempted, I'm going to bring you in there, I'm going to show you. As much as you're tempted to break off these cables here, you just get in here with a pair of pliers and you squeeze it together and it pops it right out. Alright, so now that we have that all disconnected, we are going to remove the we are going to remove this cover right here. That covers up here with the covers the condenser. We're going to take that off. All of these little tabs that hold the cables in place, we're just going to squeeze these together and remove them. Down on the bottom, we're going to take out the screws down the bottom. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll just leave it right like that. Just a 10 millimeter. So we're going to take out, we're going to take this out of the way. Going to relocate this off to the side for now. We're going to remove the little clips that hold it in place. I'm just going to put this off to the side for now. Now you can leave it in there if you want to. I wanted to get it out of the way so you can take a chance on doing any damage to it. I'm going to unplug all of the connectors that hold it in place now. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the hose. We're going to squeeze the clamp, of course. Slide that out of your way. And then we'll remove it from the car. We're just going to locate it up and out of the way for now. Next, we're going to take that totally out of the way. Just a little bit more room to work. Then we're going to undo the electrical fans, and we're going to pull the fans. Maybe we don't have to. We'll see. Alright, we're going to disconnect the, I'll show you. Down here, we're going to disconnect the horn, and we're going to disconnect the condenser here, and we'll pull the condenser out. And the way you undo it is with these here, you unlock it. I'm going to use a pair of pliers on that. Same thing here. And then our condenser and radiator assembly move out. And I'm going to take the horn out of here just so I don't damage the condenser. We're going to take out that little 10mm bolt right there, and we're going to remove the horn. So let me do that and we'll come right back. Okay, so now we have this disconnected up here, so that radiator and condenser are loose. We disconnected the AC cooling lines from right here, or the Freon lines I should say. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the condenser from the car. The way you do that is this little tab right here. You push it in and you pull the condenser up and away. Same thing on this one here. Push it in and you pull it out. So let me do that. Take the condenser out, like this, and we're just going to relocate this off to the side for now. And then we can unlock the radiator again. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect this cooling line right here for the transcooler. We're going to squeeze that clamp right there. We're going to pull this off, and then we're going to go down underneath the bottom. We're going to remove the lower radiator hose and the other cooler hose. So let me do that, and then we'll disconnect it on the bottom. Okay, I know I told you I wasn't going to take that cover off underneath the bottom, but I really didn't have much of a choice because I couldn't gain access to these over here. So I disconnected the lower hose, as you can see, and I disconnected that transmission cooler line also. Now you see I have a pair of pliers pinching off the line. I'm trying to minimize the amount of fluid that's leaking on the ground while I'm working. So, all right, let's lower it down and we'll get back up top. There's our radiator. What a pain in the rear end getting this thing out of there. So, all right. Let me grab the new one, and we're going to put this beast back together. Okay, that's what it looks like when it's out of the vehicle. And this is our replacement that we're going to be putting in. Just make sure that everything is in the correct location. Your hose connections are okay. Your transcooler lines, they're pointing in the correct direction, which both of them are. So, all right. We did take off those little pieces here. Make sure you get them back on. Sometimes they stick to the radiator. If they do, just take them off and you put them right on here. All right, let's take the radiator. Let's get up front and let's put this job back together. Okay, now this is where the radiator is going to be going into. These are the pieces I was telling you about. They need to go back right in there where they came out. Here and here. Just like that. All right, now we're going to take the radiator. We're going to put it back in. We're going to pull everything out of the way. And we'll start wrapping this job up. So let's continue with it. Okay, now Be very careful when you put the radiator back in. Coming out, it didn't matter too much if you banged it, but throwing it back in, you got to be very careful with it. In, and then I'm going to show you what I did. Right there, I'll show you. Okay, what I wanted to make sure was that down here, that they went back into their tabs correctly where it was supposed to, which it did, right down inside there, so you can see where it's back in there. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to wrap it up and put it back together. I just noticed that these tabs were on the other radiator, so we have to put them on here like this. Put them back on there. Now we can lock the radiator in place. Same thing over here. And now the radiator is locked back in place. We're going to reattach the cooling hose that we previously took off. Bring it in there, I'll show you. We're going to reattach this hose back on here that we previously took off. So we're just going to put the clamp back on and we'll slide this back up in here where it belongs. And then we're going to lift it up and we'll put those hoses back on down the bottom. Okay, we got the hose back on down the bottom, and we have the coolant, the the transmission lines reconnected up on the top here. We're reconnected right there. The hose down on the bottom is also reconnected. The transmission cooler line is reconnected. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to lay our condenser back in there also. Now I just want to point this out too. Whenever you open up a line, you always have to change the O-rings on here too. These are new O-rings. I just put them on. So all right, let's lay the condenser in there, and I'll show you how that goes. Condenser back in, previously removed. Being careful not to damage it when it goes back in. Now remember, this part here has got to fit in down the bottom, and then we'll snap it back in. So we're going to do this very slowly. Right down in the bottom right here, it's snapped right in where it's supposed to be, right there. And the top here, remember that little clip right there? It popped right back in, and now it holds the condenser from going anywhere. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these hoses down, these lines in here, put them back in here. I am going to lubricate these with some oil, and the oil I'm using is actually air conditioning oil. So we're going to lubricate these, put them back in here, and then we're going to tighten that screw up. Okay. I just want to show you, make sure you have everything reattached. Our lines are reconnected for the AC. Our horn is reconnected where it belongs. We put in the bolt down here that holds the bracket in place. We reinstalled the snorkel piece right over here. and we reattached this piece here for the AC that was actually previously removed, so that's nice and tight. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to put everything else back inside here, back together. So for now we're going to put our hose back on here. So we're going to put the hose on, and then we'll start to reattach this up in here. Okay, now we have this bracket put back in. We tightened it up here, and we tightened it up all the way down the bottom, down in here. At the same time too, we tightened that up. We connected up all of our electrical connectors back into the holders where they belong. Right there, you can see every one of them is back where they belong. Very important. We put our cables back in here where it belongs. We reattached our sensor here. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put that cover back inside here. And we have our hose back on over here already. So let's put that cover back on, and we're getting close to ending it off. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our cover back in that we previously took off. But before we put this back in, we're going to connect all of these pieces here where they belong first. We're just going to lay our snorkel back in here with our air filter assembly. Remember, these pieces here connect down on those little tabs down there, so we're going to do that first. This hose back up in place. Right here. That 10mm bolt right back through here. We're going to reconnect our sensor. Listen for the snap. Plug the clips back in where it belongs. Then we'll tighten the clamp up. That's back on that side. All right, so now we've got everything done, right? Our our recovery bottle is on. The hoses are reconnected. Upper hose is on. Lower hose, we know we reconnected that already. We put that hose on up on the top up here for the transmission cooler. We reinstalled our air filter box, tightened up the snorkel here, made sure our mass air is reconnected there. Same exact thing on this side over here. We reconnected everything up in the front that you can see here. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this down into a vacuum. We're going to put the Freon back into the air conditioner, and then we're going to fill this up with antifreeze. So, alright, let me get the air conditioner pumped down, and then we'll come right back. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to reattach our upper cover. Okay, that's it. Alright, so I just want to recap everything with you, exactly what I did, and we are going to fill it up the rest of the way with the antifreeze. We did fill it up, but we got to back it to the door to run the car. So we are going to fill it up the rest of the way with the antifreeze. We're going to purge the air out of it, and then we're going to take it for a road test. Alright, so everything is all reconnected. Make sure you have your snorkel reconnected and your clips back on here and your mass airflow sensor too. And that's it. And if you did your job correctly, you shouldn't have any bolts in that dish anymore. So, alright, let me back it to the door. Let's road test it. And it's out the door and on to the next one. Alright, as always, thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, you drop me a line. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.